Good afternoon and welcome everybody. My name is Alessandra Pastore. I am the coordinator of a co-production forum in Italy called Venice Meets West. I also am the head of an industry event in Lithuania called Meeting Point Vilnius. I'm proud and very happy to moderate today this session organized by Magma International Short Film Festival that, after 19 physical edition, takes place this week for its first time fully digital. Magma is just the last example of a long list of film festival and industry events that had to quickly adapt to the COVID pandemic situation and transform somehow themselves and their events in something totally unexplored till a few months ago. So after 8 months of digital or hybrid festivals, we felt somehow the urgency and need to finally shed a light on the good part of this situation, if any, and reverse the trend. So we all decided that the show must go on, but we were forced to think out of the box. So to find a new solution, new ideas, new ways to join our audience. And we made it. All festival made an incredible effort in this direction with incredible results. So today we will try to figure out if, despite threats and compromises, this situation has brought also new opportunity for festivals. And I'm very happy to welcome here 4 festival directors from all over Europe. So without further ado, let me welcome Matt Lloyd, director of Glasgow Short Film Festival from UK. Hi. Rich Warren, director of Encounters Film Festival, again from UK. Ivana Sujová, director of Anca International Animation Festival from Slovakia. And Giulia Iannello, which is our landlord and director of Magma International Short Film Festival from Italy. So thank you all for joining us. So I'd like to ask each of you to give us a comprehensive idea of your festival and your 2020 edition and the threats that had to face to organize it. Matt, I'd like to start with you. So you were supposed to have a festival in March. So what happened?
That's right, yes. Thanks for having me, first of all. So Glasgow Short Film Festival is the leading short film event in Scotland. We were due to have our 13th edition in March, taking place the 18th to the 22nd of March. We took the decision to cancel the festival on the 12th of March, so sort of 6 days before we were due to happen. And at that point, there was no guidance from above in the UK. We were looking to the UK government and the Scottish government for guidance on the pandemic. I think it became clear on the Wednesday, that was the day where it was actually declared internationally as a pandemic. Mm-hmm. But at that point, no one above us, our funders and our government, was not really giving us a lead at all. So we decided to take the lead of international colleagues. We'd just seen our friends at Shortwaves in Poland, which takes place at the same time as us. They just made that cancellation 2 days earlier. And we just decided that we couldn't really go ahead. We didn't know at that point whether we'd be supported in that decision. Thankfully, we got a lot of support locally when we made the announcement, and in fact, a lot of other local festivals, non-film festivals, followed us in making that decision, and it became very quickly clear from our funders that this was the right thing to do. Even though a lockdown in the UK wasn't declared until I think 2 weeks later. During our original festival dates, we did a kind of just a wee exercise of posting 2 films on our blog each day from the original program, thanks to the generosity of some of our filmmakers. And we got a lot of goodwill for that. But almost a benefit of having to cancel at such short notice was that there was no expectation on us to deliver our festival. So we then had time to sit back and watch other festivals and see what they did. So I almost feel that festivals that were due to take place in April had a much rougher deal than us, because they had a very short window in which to kind of completely turn around their plans. So at the end, yes, at the end of the original dates, we announced a new postponed dates for August, and of course at that point we thought it would be a live event, and those were essentially the first dates that were available with our regular venues. But I think it became pretty clear fairly quickly in April that a live event wasn't going to be feasible in August either, and so we started to look at an online solution. We're fortunate in that we use the Film Chief platform as our database, have done for 4 years now, and Film Chief was developing an online hub in collaboration with Go Short Festival and Oberhausen and Vienna. So we were able to, we knew fairly quickly that we'd be using that platform, and we were able to see it develop through these 3 festivals and improve each time. We knew we wanted to retain the feel of a live event for our festival, but with the convenience of VOD. So we wanted to kind of keep within the dates we'd announced, and to have live screenings, but followed by kind of 48 hours of VOD for each program. We also had time to considerably revise the program and decide which elements from the original festival we would put on hold for a year because they work better in a live environment. And then we were able to kind of rework some of our programs so they were responding to current events a bit more effectively. Yeah, and more than anything, we wanted it to be a fun experience. So what I'll do is I'll show you a kind of a mock-up of the hub. Oops, wrong. You can see this. So this is the homepage of the hub. Hopefully that will load. You'd have a live screening where you can see a preview of it on the homepage, and then basically all the various programs. We had some kind of live stream discussion events, occasional live performance. So this was a Edinburgh-based rap artist did a live show. And we really kind of, the hub pushed us to kind of rethink the whole program structure and rename the various strands of the program. We were able to add some pre-recorded conversations with many of the filmmakers, both spotlight filmmakers, but also in competition. We had pre-recorded interviews with every single filmmaker in competition. And then we also had a series of live streamed industry discussions, which were then available after the festival. And some of those were in collaboration with Shortwaves, who, by a strange twist of fate, having cancelled at the same time as us, rescheduled for exactly the same week as us in August. So we made a virtue of that with shared industry panels, but also we shared some programming as well. So yes, we wanted to offer something different, unique to the online experience, but also in the spirit of our festival. So we did some fun intros for programs like our comedy and horror programs. We recorded a sort of a live, not a live event. Our opening ceremony was a silly kind of performance. You know, we didn't try and replicate the festival experience in terms of our awards ceremony. I think we tried to do something different. And the other point I'd like to make is that we really put a lot of work into social media during the festival week to try and also generate that live experience. We have a large Twitter following, and Facebook and Instagram. So on Instagram, we had daily takeovers by some of the filmmakers, particularly the Scottish filmmakers. each day. So they would tell us a bit about their film and the making of it, and they would invite questions.
Yes, so I've been working in stop motion for about. Good question.
So it was just another
for my next short film.
Another forum for people to engage with the program. Just trying to get back to that's it. And the last point I'd like to make is that of access. We captioned every film for deaf or hard of hearing audiences, and we offered a pay what you can pay scale for entry to the hub. It was sort of scaled between, I think, £7 and £15 for access to for the whole week. I mean, there's lots more I can say, but I should probably hand on to the next person.
No, you are mute. Okay.
Sorry, did I?
In terms of numbers, I mean, the people were following you, how they reacted.
Yes, I mean, I think there's sort of, your instinct is to assume that by going online you'll suddenly attract a much bigger audience. Actually, our numbers were not that much bigger. I think partly because it was in the height of summer, and at that point the lockdown had eased considerably in the UK. But it certainly was higher. There was a greater engagement from international industry. But what we also found is that it was quite a different public audience. You know, it was people who wouldn't ever necessarily come to the festival as a live event because they were physically too far away. Whereas a lot of our regular local audience were not engaging to the same extent. So it, a positive, generally positive, but certainly instructive experience.
Thank you very much, Matt. Ivana, despite the current situation, you managed to have a physical edition in August, is that correct? You should turn on your microphone, Ivana.
Sorry. Yes, it's very correct. It went as you just said.
Please give us an overview of your event and how it was to have it, in any case, in this full pandemic situation.
Great, thank you. So just in the short, Fest Anca is an international animation festival. This year it was 13th edition. So we are here for 13 years. Every year we have a competition for short films from all over the globe, for music videos of animation and such as, and also we have very much curated part of program where this year we had a theme the day after, which we didn't know how it will sound during the festival. We picked this theme a year before, so it was very much unfortunate. But it collided with the real world very well at the end, and we curate not only animation shorts to focus on this theme, but also other program. It means from parties to visiting the local atomic shelter. So we are trying to make it from the theme as much as possible. But of course, this year it was a little bit different year. We originally have our festival at the end of June, at the beginning of July. And as also Matt said, in the March, April, where the whole hell break loose, we just didn't know what will be in July and June. And also our officials were not helpful in this matter. We didn't know in the long run what it means to have a festival, if it would be possible in this date, or if to move it. And till the actually happening of the festival in August, we didn't know if it could happen, because there to this day, well, now we are in lockdown, but every possible policy came a week, 2 weeks stop before. So nobody could actually prepare for anything. So we just had to carry on with the festival because we are very much rely on public funding of from Slovakia fund, audiovisual fund, and without some higher entity telling you can't have festival, we had to have festival. So it was a lucky and at the same time unlucky to have it in August because we could have it, but we didn't know if they will not cancel it 1 or 2 days before actual happening. So everything was very uncertain, but we had to go almost the full-on speed because we were not prepared for moving a festival to online version as you had the possibility. And we didn't even now we have a plan in such circumstances what would happen or how we will have to create some other platforms online and how to stream and how to create the program to actually serve its purpose, because one of the main possibilities of festival is for everybody in the animation industry to meet, from animation industry in Slovakia, from animation industry from neighboring countries and from all over Europe. So it will really took a large part from not having it in person. But I think in the very near future, we will have to tackle it some other way, because maybe we should not rely so much on personal meetings. So we will see where this will go. But yes, we had the festival in person, and we had to make every possible thing to accordance of that we don't want to spread disease. We don't have we can't afford to be the epicenter of everybody getting sick. So we knew that we really have to push a lot of rules on our guests and on us. We had mandatory masks everywhere during all screenings, during parties. There, I will show you in a few minutes, or maybe I can show you now some photos from some of our program. This is our gallery from this year. This is industry events. You can see only people who are presenting do not have a mask. Everybody had to have a mask on. So this is from industry events. This is we also had book reading in a local bookstore where people also were reading with masks on. We also had screenings where people were with masks. We had to cut capacity on half. So so every cinema or every place where we screen had to have half capacity. We had to have a lot of space just for air. We had to disinfect everything. Also other measures, I will not bore you with with everything we had to do. But what was very funny was also that people were, this is the atomic bunkers, as you can see. People behaved really well, and this is parties. People were in masks on parties, and they danced in masks, and nobody complained. Like people really were following the rules, and even when doing such things as dancing in maximum speed, they still kept their masks on. So I think it was a very, very good experience for us to see how our audience is willing to come to the festival even in these hard times and still enjoy it to the maximum with all the rules in place. Luckily, we didn't have any cases that we know of that somebody got ill or got in contact with the disease. So I think that it went beautifully, but it also it showed on the numbers of people coming to the event, and it actually went in half. But I think it's totally understandable because it's a very tough situation, and we also had all the capacity cut in half. Also, our communication on PR, this is the last thing. Our PR communication also had to be very strict, and all the policies that we set, also us as an organization team had to follow. And also we had the rule that if there is any rule, we have to follow it so other people can see it and follow it also. So it was a very good rule. It really comes to fruition.
And did you manage to keep the full program and as it was supposed to be? So all talks and chats with directors or panels, everything?
Well, this was some kind of a limbo actually, because we lost a lot of guests, and we decided that we are gonna have guests from neighboring countries, so it will be safe for them and also for us. So we only had guests from Czech Republic, Poland, and from our country, of course. And it also had some kind of a very local feeling that people that didn't see each other for a long time can actually again talk on the industry events and do things that are very local, but at the same time, I think it had its purpose and it served its purpose.
Thank you very much, Ivana.
Thank you also.
Rich, you're still recovering from your last edition, is that correct?
Yeah, very much recovering. Yeah, so yeah, we finished our edition on October the 11th. So yeah, not so long ago. I'll try and pick up with some of the points that Matt and Ivana have made as well, because they've done a very good job in setting the scene as to where we came in. So back in March, April, we could see the landscape of what was happening. We could see what was happening with South by Southwest cancelling, and what was happening with Matt up in Glasgow, and what was happening at Shortwaves in Poznan, and the knock-on effect that was happening. So we came to the decision very early to go to our funders, to go to our partners, and to make the decision to go digital this year, very, very early. And we did that for a few reasons. One, to provide the clarity for the filmmakers so that they knew what they were getting into, and give them the opportunity to also request a refund on their submission. But also just to get that clarity for the team as well. I mean, I'm sure Ivana can talk about having that uncertainty as to whether they were delivering a physical festival or a digital festival, that uncertainty, you know, and having to plan for two festivals. You know, we're a small team, and you know, we've only got so much sanity. So we wanted to just get that clarity in knowing what we were going to deliver. We were also very fortunate. I mean, if you could have planned for something like this to happen, a pandemic, you know, for it to happen, you know, with more than 6 months out of your festival dates, it gives you that time to prepare. So we went to our funders, we went to our supporters, and we said, you know, we would like to go digital, but additionally, we'd also like to treat this year as R&D. Treat it as you know, treat the films with respect, treat all the filmmakers with respect, but treat this as an opportunity to explore what could be done differently in digital. What has happened so far is, you know, in the case, like with what Matt was saying, is that they had to make the decision at very short notice to go digital, or they already had a physical program that they then needed to turn into a digital environment. We weren't in that place just yet. So we had the opportunity to think about things slightly differently, and think about what going digital means and what that would look like, and also learn from everything that was happening before us. You know, the learning curve that festivals in general are going on at the moment is huge, and it's so steep that you know, things are changing almost on a weekly basis. You're seeing another festival try something different. You're seeing something different. So we were we were just like sponges trying to soak in, like attend as many festivals as we could, see what other people were doing, see how the audiences were reacting, seeing what, you know, the great thing of it all being digital is that, you know, everyone's putting their comments up on social media, so you can actually see what the audiences think. Although people who make comments on social media can't always be trusted. So we kind of approached it slightly differently, and we made some decisions that were potentially against the grain of what a lot of festivals have been doing, you know, and so we spent a lot of time kind of justifying our decisions and our reasons why we were doing it. So the first key one was we extended our festival dates. We went from the traditional 5 or 6 days to 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks, which is huge. And, you know, and I had one distributor accuse me of trying to become like Netflix. You know, and if I would do a profit share for them, and I said, of course, you can have a share of any profits that we make, knowing how much money festivals make. So it's been a big communications exercise in terms of our partners and ensuring that we can get them to come along on the journey with us, and see, you know, and treat this as an R&D and not. For a lot of people, I've been describing the pandemic not. It's like pressing fast forward for 5 years, and a lot of those conversations or those questions that we've been kicking into the long grass and saying, oh, we'll sort that out later. You know, the big one for film has been digital and how its relationship, film's relationship with you know, online platforms, and certainly festivals relationships. And it's kind of like we can't kick it into the long grass anymore. We need to make these decisions now. So I was keen for whatever we do this year, not to be a plaster and it's like, this is what we did during the pandemic, but it to have a legacy going forward. So, yeah, we did quite a few things. And we, so like I say, one of the ones was think about the extending the festival dates. We changed the access point to, you know, as Matt was saying about accessibility to the festival. We reduced, it was a flat fee of £10 to get access to our player, which got them access to everything for 3 weeks. Everything that was on the player, everyone had access for 3 weeks. We also wanted to embrace the democracy of online watching as opposed to the dictatorship of live events. You know, at live events, you tell people 8 o'clock, go to the cinema, sit there, watch a film. In an online space, people do it in between doing other things. They, you know, or they've got other things to do. So we kind of want to embrace that. So controversially, we kind of got rid of a lot of our curated programs that we would usually produce, and allowed the films to be there as individual films, the short films as individual films, and then curate playlists at certain points so that the films could be highlighted on a daily basis, but they didn't have to be watched within that program. They were also available for the entirety of the 3 weeks rather than in a small window. And again, it was a big trust exercise. We had to go to our partners and go to the filmmakers and say, look, we're trying this. We're trying to get an audience for your film. It'll be beneficial. We're trying this. You know, come with us. And at the same time, being completely respectful for the filmmakers. If they said no, then fine. It's no. It's not. It's for them to decide. You know, and then there's the whole question of geo-blocking as well, which I'm sure will come up at some point in the conversation, you know, in terms of, you know, whether you respect the territory-based thing and what that means for online festivals. For us, it was about our audience and what our audience wanted, and also what the filmmakers wanted. The filmmakers want to be in a festival to get an audience. They are not necessarily that worried about the territories conversation. So again, we said to the filmmakers, do you want your film to be geo-blocked or not? It wasn't our decision to be made. I think it's foolish for us to kind of say that it's our responsibility. I think it is down to the filmmakers. And so the vast majority of our program wasn't geo-blocked, but the few films that did want to be geo-blocked to protect their premiere status, then absolutely, that's fine. It's the individual film's responsibility. And so, yes, we tried lots of different things. It was interesting, you know, what Matt and Ivana said about their PR and comms. Something that I was, again, a lot of my team criticised me for this, but it's you know, I take that on I've got thick skin. But I said to hold back on the PR and comms this year, because for me, just because you can put the program online doesn't mean everyone's going to watch it. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to, this again, as with the idea of R&D, research and development. I wanted to see if we could take what our traditional audience was that would come to the physical festival and see if we could bring them into a digital space. So look at the international industry and see if they would come into our digital space. Look at the filmmakers, look at the students that, the film students that we get, and that's small splattering of our general public that we get from Bristol. See if we could bring them into a digital space. Anyone extra would be, would be an added bonus, but I wanted to see if we could bring those into that space. So it was very targeted marketing in a very traditional way of who we would usually try to attract to the physical festival. Rightly or wrongly, for me, it was part of that, the part of that exercise in seeing where we can go. And then finally, with regards to the final point, with regards to what a festival is and how you can recreate a festival in a digital space. One of the key things I wanted to look at was that serendipity of film festivals, how those chance encounters, how there's two types of networking at festivals. There's the business networking or the opportunity networking, where you're specifically, I want to talk to that person because I've got something I want to ask them, or I want to pitch them, or I want to get from them. That's the one type. And then there's the other type, which is you being sat in the bar, sat at a table, and then suddenly realize that you're talking to someone who you see absolutely eye to eye with, and those chance encounters. So we wanted to see if we could replicate both of those. So again, partnering up with two different tech companies. One, we created that industry networking platform. We took one specific day where we invited the film industry and the competition filmmakers to book meetings with each other, and it was all facilitated on a platform, and we held just over 200 meetings on that day, one-to-one meetings between the industry and the filmmakers. So that kind of felt like that there was something there that we could kind of satisfy that kind of networking. And then the second one, the serendipity thing, we again partnered up with a bit of experimental software. It only ever been used for a maximum of 30 people, but it was essentially a closed circuit version of chat roulette, where you would be in a room and every 5 minutes someone else would come up and you'll be talking to someone else. And it was this closed circuit, and we decided to see if we could break the software because it had only been used for 30 or 40 people, and we put 200 people in there, invited everyone to come along with a drink and see what happens. And we didn't break it, so that was great. But it was great because the feedback from that was, it was those strange encounters that, you'd be something like, who are you, what do you do, what are you doing here? And it was really addictive, sort of like pressing the button to see who you're going to get next. So there was an element of that came into it. But let me share my screen and I'll show you some of the bits and pieces that we did, and just show you what the platform looks like. So if this works, there we go. So this is our website. The platform itself, it's still up and running for logins and stuff. But we had this carousel at the top, which we'd change on a daily basis. It was all very manual. That's what we found out, is that there was a very manual process behind what we were doing with our player. And it allowed us to create this carousel at the top, which would just change on a daily basis of things that we wanted to highlight that day. And then we had very much like the Netflix kind of model, where you can scroll down for ages and there's different categories highlighting different things. This is a Take Your Knee Off My Neck, which was an initiative with Channel 4 in the UK here, some short films about the Black Lives Matter movement. The award winners collections. We had filmmakers Q&As. We held altogether, it was 42 filmmaker Q&As over 3 weeks, all live directly straight out onto the platform through Zoom, and it was quite a grueling task, but it was great because the filmmakers really engaged with it, and they took it as their opportunity to talk. Panels and masterclasses that we held throughout the festival, they would then sit up on the platform. And then it kind of goes down. There's some programs that are listed in playlists, but then most of the films are all listed individually. And when you click through onto them, you can see lots of information there about how to play it. You can add it to your watch later list. It was great. I mean, we built this player up from a white label package let me just stop that share now. It was a white label platform, so we could actually play with it, and a lot of it was working out stuff as we went along. I mean, not everything was perfect, and perhaps we can get onto that later, but you know, it was very much a good exercise from that R&D perspective as to what we can do and how we can fiddle with it and respond and be reactive to how the audiences were engaging with the platform.
Thank you, Rish. This was very intense experience. Thanks a lot. Julia, so we are now in the middle of your festival. You were planning a physical edition, and a few weeks ago, the Italian government decided to shut down and close again on cinemas. So how are you now?
A little bit nervous, but I'm alive, so it's something good. No, I think that we had an original idea of our festival, of this 19th edition, that changed 4, 5, or 6 times. So, for example, when we started to open our call for entries, we are in the middle of the lockdown, so we had to look at all the excursus, up and down then of this situation, and yes, we decided to continue to organize a physical edition. But 3 weeks ago, yeah, exactly, the October 25, everything changed again. So we did everything, we prepared everything, but we couldn't do anything that we have prepared, because first of all, cinema halls and theaters are closed, so we don't have our maternal womb, our natural habitat, the cinema hall. On the other hand, it's not forbidden to travel, but it's not recommended. So we can't host anybody. It's at your own risk. So we were not sure about the situation, and we preferred not to host anybody. Conferences, public meetings, presentation are forbidden. So all we decided to maintain the international competition that did the heart of the festival, but all the side events were cancelled. So this experience can tell us that we always have to have a B plan, and that's the reason why, obviously, also my team, with my team, we decided to go online in an online platform. So in this week we will screen in streaming our international competition of 2023 films selected, because in the end, in this period, in spring, in summer, we did everything like always. We did our job, so nothing changes. But obviously, to lose the relationship with a physical audience is something very hard for us. But obviously, we have to convert our point of weakness in point of strength. So, for example, this international panel is something that me and Licia we dreamed a lot of times, solutions and ways to organize a panel like this. And obviously, internet online is everything is simpler. So I think it's you can find also in this very uncertain moment something certain, friends and collaboration that we found in the past editions. I don't know if Licia want to say something more, but I think this is...
No, I think you said like the main points. Probably the problem with us was also that we were notified we wouldn't be able to actually have the physical edition 1 month ahead. So this didn't leave us with a lot of time to actually plan and in a proper way. So we actually had to move what was physical into digital, and that it's not possible to have everything converted into digital like this. But as Julia said, and as all of you have actually showed us in a very great way, we can maybe try and learn something about this experience, and maybe actually even next year, hopefully the pandemic will just be like something behind us, but maybe we can try and think of activities that worked online and extend our program with something new, because at the end of the day, going digital is also an opportunity, and international collaboration is also a great way. And actually today we are really happy to have you here with us and sharing experiences and ideas that probably will be useful to also to the other people who are watching us right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Julia and Licia. Yes,
You're welcome.
I have a general question to you all, those of you that would like to answer about partners and budgeting. I'm bringing you my personal experience with the Vilnius Film Festival. We had to cancel the industry event, but we decided to go because it was supposed to be at the end of March. So as Matt was mentioning, we had the last minute information that everything was falling down basically. So we were not capable to keep the industry event, but we decided to go online with the festival. Of course, at that point, our budget was already there and we had to face strong changes, as well as for partners. So we had to face a reduction of 40% of income from ticket selling because we went online. We had to face a reduction of approximately 20% of our funders. We totally lost all our private investors, and we managed somehow to keep most of the public investors and public funds. But somehow we managed to rebuild our budget and to save 30% of the budget. So at the end of the day, basically, we managed to save the situation, but our 2021 edition will start with the gap financing. This was a good way also to test our partnerships, of course, that they have to be different in also for the next edition. When we plan ahead, we had to start thinking to new potential ways to cooperate with sponsor and partners. I was wondering if any of you have faced this kind of situation, and how did you manage if you went online? So Ivana, I can think it has been a little bit easier. How did you manage to save the situation if you did?
It was that easy. Actually, we had no other option than to make a festival, as I said, because of the majority of our funding being public. We cannot rely on selling tickets or anything like that. It doesn't cover anything essentially in our budget. So because we were actually 2 months from the festival happening in April, we had to come up very quickly with a plan how to finance festival while all the people in festival will see their paycheck at the end. So it was more of a thinking which way to go, because majority of our private investors are making in-kind contributions, so it's like more of a technical stuff which they provide for the festival. So there was no brainer for us what to do in this situation when talking about financing.
Thanks, Ivana.
For us, it was we weren't in too bad a position. We, I mean, by cancelling when we did at a few days' notice, we were able to claw back some expenditure before it was committed, and once we'd made the announcement, our funders then confirmed that they would support us even if we delivered nothing in this year. And in fact, we have core funding, public funding for 2 years, for 2 editions of the festival. So our jobs weren't in immediate danger. Our box office, I mean, like Ivana, our box office is not a huge percentage of our budget, between sort of 5 and 10%, and that was offset by some resilience funding that we received from the British Film Institute, I think in May. So that covered some of the expenditure which had been committed and couldn't be recouped. But generally, I think because it was so early and so sudden, we had so much goodwill from a lot of our suppliers. Many of them deferred costs until the summer, and then when it became clear that we wouldn't be able to use them in the summer either, people providing projection and accommodation, some of them kind of just dropped the costs altogether. Others we paid a cancellation fee to. So financially, it's not been a too bad an experience for us. And in fact, our funders then opened up a new fund specifically for online activity, which was almost too late for us to benefit from it from the August event, but they let us submit an application that they fast tracked through, and so thankfully we got that funding. Had we not got that funding, we were already committed to delivering the festival, and we would have had to start pulling money out of the second year, which we haven't had to do. Obviously, 2021, in terms of any kind of additional private support, not that we get much in the way of commercial sponsorship or anything like that, I would say that's pretty much down to zero now, but we can plan accordingly. What's fascinating to me is that we expected a big drop in submissions for 2021, and we do have to, we have some of our income comes from submission fees. So we were kind of planning to see that income drop radically, and actually we're like last year we saw a massive surge in submissions. This year we're way ahead of that, so we're now well over double the number of submissions we were at this time 2 years ago, and we've still got another few weeks to go before our final deadline. So obviously we don't like to rely on submissions fees for income. You know, it's mainly there to cover the costs of actually viewing the films and paying our viewers, and but it is thankfully it's a very useful additional form of revenue this year.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks. Rich,
yeah, and
yeah.
No, just pretty much exactly as it's been said already. I mean, we lost pretty much all of our private sponsorship. We receive funding. We receive public funding, and that's because we were so early in that, and we communicated what our intention was early. That the funders kind of came on board. One of our main funders is the BFI, and they've kind of got their hands full with the cinemas, you know, and ensuring that the venues, we will still have venues to take festivals back to post-pandemic. So, you know, I think they were quite supportive of what we were doing. So that was okay. Fortunately, we all, as both Matt and Ivana said, the box office isn't huge for a film festival, and for film festivals in general. And I think online it's even smaller. Which is fine. You know, we work in short film, we're used to there not being much money, so it allowed us to adapt. Like I said, because we had such a long lead in, we were able to be quite sensible with our budgets. Our overheads were less because we weren't doing so much physical activity, and we were able to plan accordingly. I think the real impact will be felt over the next couple of years for festivals as we try and return to venues, and whether the venues are able to support us to be able to get in there, because they're all struggling as well, certainly in the UK, and what that will mean for our budgets going forward, who knows. Likewise with trying to replicate, if we are doing a digital, we go down this hybrid approach, and we have a digital and a physical festival, so we're having to deliver two separate things with two separate cost plans. We're going to have to get some more funding from somewhere, and I think that will be where the budgets really start to get felt. For this year, and we we managed to make everything balance. And I think that's you know, to deliver something and make something balance and have a festival at the end that has survived, that is still there to deliver something for next year. That was the initial target for this year. Next year, I think it'll be another question and another question the year after that. So this year, to answer the question directly, the budget-wise, we've managed to make it balance. My concern is what that means going forward and how to manage the expectations of the filmmakers, the partners, the funders, and everything as we try and continue this journey into the unknown.
Yeah, very true, very true. Thanks a lot. As mentioned at the beginning, we also would like to take the occasion to understand if any of these new elements that we have introduced, you all have introduced, could be kept for the future edition, despite the situation. So is there anything, did you discover any new practice, any new platform that you feel could become part of your event, also once this COVID pandemic situation would finally be a bad memory? Julia was mentioning the fact that this is an opportunity, this panel is an opportunity that may have not had otherwise if they didn't have a digital edition. So anything similar that you would like to keep for your edition? Ivana?
Well, going forward for the next year, we are totally going to be a hybrid. We will not be only probably in public, if it will be possible, as we don't know what will hold the future. But we will go hybrid for sure. But now we have no certain image. We will probably have an online screenings, but I will also like to not make them just like for 5 days, but for more weeks on demand. As Rich said before, they had it in their festival. So also finally it solves some of our problems, because a city where we are having the festival is a rather small one in Slovakia, so there is not a lot of spaces. We have like 3 or 4 places for us to screen films, and one of them burned last year. So we really struggled to find a new place where we could screen films, and which will be still in the festival feeling, because we are not in cinemas, we are in very specific buildings. And actually this will, I think, helps us a lot to relocate part of program to online, and to we are trying to see it as an opportunity how for us to breathe better and how to solve problems we have now or we had. We're trying to solve one way to broaden the horizon and see what's online and what everything we can possibly do as much as possible. It is to be movable and more flexible, not to have it set in stone as we thought that it should be like this. So maybe it is also this learning opportunity.
Also because we can't organize festivals only in summer. We are too much. For example, in Italy, other directors that canceled their festivals in March or in April, they decided to organize the festival in summer, but summer is not so big for all of us.
Yes. And Matt or Rich, any idea what you would like to keep or you will continue to work on?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think one of the most successful things was generating additional material. I hate to use the word content, but I suppose it is content. You know, we each year we have a small number of our international competition filmmakers attending the festival, but this year we had, you know, a conversation with each one of them up on the hub, and I think that's something we would continue to do. I mean, all this sort of these kind of engagements, we've all become much more accustomed to Zoom conversations or just watching stuff online, and that yeah, kind of audiences becoming more used to that across their lives allows us to become, well, more green, I suppose, more than anything, in that we don't have to spend a lot of money on blind people around the world for very brief appearance. I mean, obviously, none of this is to take away from the festival experience, and I obviously I always would want to have as many people in the room as possible, but perhaps in future I would kind of prioritize different parts of the world to bring guests from, and you know, and not just be just having a more focused approach that's perhaps a little bit more kind of ecologically sound. And again, this question of accessibility, providing screenings online does allow you to provide much more kind of support in terms of captioning or live captioning or BSL interpretation. And I mean, we were doing a certain amount of that within the live festival before this, but online it makes it much easier to provide support for people who might need it. And yeah, I think that those are the main takeaways. I suppose it also makes you kind of rethink the structure of your event, I think, which is always healthy. Just to question why you do the thing you do every year in the same way. I can't say that I had a 5-year plan in the way Rich maybe does that's been accelerated, but I do appreciate being pushed to kind of reconsider what I'm doing every year.
I mean, yeah, I just echo a lot of that, and I think the digital bubble has well and truly been burst, and this is now going to be almost an expectation for a lot of festivals to make. I mean, how many festivals have we all been to where you go and you haven't had a chance to see all the content? So having an online space where you can see the content and will mean a lot to people, to some members of the industry. I think the key will be how the two spaces talk to each other and communicate with each other, how the physical and the digital complement each other rather than conflict and are in competition with each other. You want them to be able to talk to each other. Those, for the ecological reasons, those filmmakers that you don't want to, that can't get to your festival, but you still want to engage and have that experience, have the same experience that the physical filmmakers who come to your festival, and get the same opportunities that those filmmakers get by coming to the festival physically. How can you recreate those opportunities in a digital space, either through finding an audience or finding connections? How can you recreate those spaces? That's, I think, going to be the key thing moving forward for film festivals, and that are looking to kind of walk this fine line between a digital and a physical festival. This term hybrid, which makes my skin itch every time someone says it. It's no longer it's no longer going to need defining. It's just going to be the thing that we all do. But I think the quicker we can solve that solution as to who is the online, who is the digital audience, who is the physical audience, and how the two communicate with each other, then that makes the festival experience, that with the reason why we all do this, that makes that a much easier thing to solve.
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot. So we all are already thinking out of the box. Julia, you are in the middle, so I know it's not easy for you to do a balance, but still, anything to add?
No, but I really want to thank you, thanks to you, and thanks to Rich, Matt, and Ivana, because these 3 international short film festivals are partners, and we believe in the strength of this partnership, because in the end the important is to share experiences, good practices. So I think that this is the sum, the result of a path that we decided to start a lot of time ago. So thank you so much. You are very inspiring for us, and finger crossed for us.
Thank you, Julia. Yes, well, actually, as outcome, I feel that I've experienced an incredible attitude to changes and adaptation of the full audiovisual industry. And I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty confident that together and sharing experience, we will find a new way to reinvent the film industry and the experience of cinema itself. Nevertheless, we sincerely hope to see you and all our audience very soon again in person and in cinemas. So thanks a lot to our panelists. Thanks, Magma, to host the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra.
For being with us for the full session. So have a nice day and ciao, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.